So strange as it may sound, the historical record does seem to indicate that Adolf Hitler had it in for cyclists. The next natural question might be what would create such a distaste for such a seemingly harmless activity, especially at a time in the early 1900s when cycling was such a large part of life in Europe. Well, there looks to be a couple of possible answers. When young Adolf enlisted in the German military during World War I, cycling was a large part of the war effort. Cycling regiments were created in all the nations participating in the war, including England, France, and Germany. But being part of a cycling regiment wasn't young Hitler's dream. Instead, he longed for the glamour of a motorcycle regiment. The military, being what it is, decided that they knew better than Adolf, and Hitler was assigned as a bicycle messenger. Records from the time still exist, listing Adolf as a Radfahrer, a cyclist, instead of a Kradfahrer, a motorcyclist. This was likely the initial cause of Adolf's dislike of bicycles. It's interesting to note here that the bicycles used by the Germans during World War I weren't the same mid-weight bikes used by the British military or the lightweight bikes used by the French. The Germans pressed every manner of bicycle into service, with the majority being heavyweight roadsters with coaster brakes. This had to make Hitler's time as a bike messenger even less palatable when compared to the imagined glamorous life of a motorcycle messenger. Even though carrying messages on a bicycle from the field command to the troops and back was not Hitler's dream job, he apparently did it very well, performing heroically during his service and being awarded 2 Bronze Crosses for his work as a bicycle messenger. Still, life as a cyclist must have set up a deep-seated dislike of bicycles, because when Hitler came to power in the 1930s, he began enacting anti-cycling laws with a vengeance. The Nazi Party is actually credited with pioneering the creation of cycling paths in Germany in the early 1930s, not because they wanted to encourage cycling, but rather because they wanted cyclists off the roads to make room for automobiles. This leads us to another motivation for Hitler's dislike of cyclists. Hitler felt that bicycles were the transportation of the poor and automobiles were the transportation of the successful, so wanting Germany to appear successful, he wanted more cars on the roads and less bicycles. In fact, by 1936, the Nazi Party had outlawed all cycling groups in Germany. Hitler's anti-cycling antics weren't limited to Germany, but extended to occupied countries as well. In October of 1944, Hitler personally approved a major anti-cycling law directed at Denmark, a country well known for their historic love of cycling. The law, originally suggested by the German Foreign Ministry, stated that all newly produced Danish bikes and bikes currently on sale were to be immediately confiscated. My research doesn't show if this law was designed to prevent the Danish from riding, or if it was enacted perhaps just to seize more bikes for the German war effort. One more thing I wanted to mention while discussing the Nazi Party and cycling: during this time period, one of Hitler's former drivers, Anton Lobel, had experimented with attaching bits of glass to bicycle pedals to act as reflectors. The German SS took his invention, which was actually likely invented earlier by others, patented it, oversaw the marketing of the reflectors, and eventually created an ordinance requiring all German cyclists to purchase and use the reflectors. The money raised by the sale of these early pedal-mounted reflectors reportedly contributed between 100,000 and 150,000 Reichsmarks to the German war effort. With all the truly horrible things done by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party leading up to and during the Second World War, it almost seems silly to fixate on something as relatively harmless as their anti-cycling stances, but I find this quirky stuff fascinating And who knows, maybe if the German military would have just let Hitler ride a motorcycle like he wanted to, could be he would have grown up into a happier, kinder adult, and we could have avoided that whole mess. Maybe there's a lesson in there for you. When your kid asks for a motorcycle, maybe you should think twice before saying no.